I wanted to continue mountaineering. I didn't have any friends, but I did not care. I wanted to keep on going. I wanted to be in the mountains. I just wanted to feel my body, but I also wanted to be in nature and experience the mountains, experience the fresh air, and be on a summit. That was all I could think about it. All I could think about. So yeah, since I had no one to do that, and I didn't want to wait, and I didn't connect with people on Facebook, what I just suggested to you, I told myself I'm gonna go solo. I'm gonna try by myself and see how it goes, how far I will get, and how it feels. And that would actually be my first time being out there in the mountains solo, all by myself, not knowing what I'm doing. So I did a little bit of research. I started buying some equipment like my shoes, my first mountaineering shoes. I think they were Mammut GTX High to whatever they are called. They don't live anymore because I used them so much. But yeah, I bought my first shoes. I bought my first tent. I don't know, drinking stuff, mountain food. I don't even remember, but I remember. Oh yeah, yes, I do remember. Sorry, I bought a compass. I bought a map, and all the things that I thought I would need. Yeah, a stove, food, everything. So I researched the mountain I want to go for. The highest mountain in Germany is Zugspitze. It's 2,900. How much is it? 2,962 meters high. So I decided I want to climb Zugspitze, and yeah, I prepared for that. Being a greenhorn, not knowing what I'm doing, and still being very, very slow, I chose the easiest route. So again, I went to hiker.org, I researched all the routes, and also there's a nice PDF online from the German Alpine Club that is very, very detailed and shows you the different routes on the Zugspitze. There are like 5 major routes on or off the Zugspitze, and there's a few more climbing routes, of course, but there are 5 major routes on how you can go onto the Zugspitze. There's number 1, the easiest is the Rheintal, which is quite long. You start in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and you walk along all the valley. I think it's about 23 or even 27 kilometers until you reach the summit. You go over the Sonnalpin. This is the standard route. That's from the German side. Then the next route would be Ehrwald from Austria. Also a super, super, super beautiful route. It's across the Gattal. You cross the border between Austria and Germany. You come from Austria to the German side, and then you go on the ridge and on the border, basically between Austria and Germany. Super beautiful route, going up, going down. I usually go down that way when I was up there. Then there's a third route, the Stöpselzieher, which I will talk about later, and the fourth one being the Höllental, and the fifth one would probably be the Jubiläumsgrat. So yeah, I decided Zugspitze is gonna be my training ground. I want to do all the routes up and down the Zugspitze, because the nice thing about it is they are all kind of very, very different, and yeah, you can actually increase the difficulty by switching the routes, or doing that one route first, doing the other route next, and so on. So Zugspitze was basically my first solo training mountain, my playground. So yeah, I had a super heavy rucksack. Again, I drove down there to Garmisch-Partenkirchen with my car. I think, was I sleeping? Yeah, actually, I was resting. I was waiting at the car park. I was sleeping in my car, I think. And the next morning, I got ready, buckled up everything, my rucksack, all the equipment that I needed, and my tent and everything. And I started walking from Garmisch-Partenkirchen along the valley to the Zugspitze. And I thought I was early in the morning. I thought, yeah, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning is quite a good time to reach the summit, because I was stupid. And yeah, I started walking, and I remember I lost the way after a while. I think I took a wrong turn, and I remember meeting a farmer a Bavarian farmer, and I asked him, "Hey, can you tell me which way to the summit of the Zugspitze?" And he pointed to that direction, and he said, "Bist aber ganz schön spät dran," meaning like you're kind of late for that. And I thought, what is wrong? It's still 8 o'clock in the morning. What is he talking about? I didn't know about mountaineering, and I didn't know about the timing and when it's a good time to start and when it's a good time to be back, how to minimize risk, how to avoid bad weather, and so on. I didn't know what I was doing. I just went there, you know. So yeah, I had a super heavy rucksack, food for 2 or 3 days in there, water and a medical kit and my tent and everything, even though tenting is not allowed in Germany and Austria, but that's a different topic. And yeah, like an amateur, I had a super full and heavy rucksack, and I started walking the Rheintal towards the summit. And I remember after maybe it was 10, 12 kilometers, you know, the rucksack was so heavy. I was so exhausted. And I remember, I think I rested on a rock, and I was completely exhausted, and I didn't understand what was going on. I felt so weak. I felt so tired. I felt so unfit. And I was wondering, what is going on, Nordine? Why are you so weak? Why can you not do that? And this was the first time when I doubted myself, and I thought maybe I'm not made for mountaineering. Maybe mountaineering is too hard for me, and maybe I should turn around. And yeah, no one will judge me. No one sees me right now. If I turn around now, no one will know, you know. And this was the first time my mind was racing with thoughts like that. And yeah, I just felt so weak and so exhausted, and I didn't know if I should continue or if I should turn around. So what I ended up doing is I took a little break. I drank some water. I ate something, regulated my blood sugar, but I didn't know back then that I was doing that. But I was doing that unintentionally. And after a while, I think I recovered a little bit, also mentally, and I kept on walking, and I found new energy, no new willpower, and I started to climb up there. Um, yeah, it was in the upper part, you know, close to the Austrian-German border. It got very rocky. It got a little bit exposed, but I really liked that. And it was already somewhere around 4 p.m. or even after 4 p.m., getting closer to the summit. And I was completely alone there. There was no one else on that mountain because, and that's kind of uncommon because the Zugspitze is a very, very, very crowded mountain. It's the highest mountain in Germany. It's a super beautiful area, and there's a lot of people running around. But that day I was alone up there, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. um, Eventually, when you get to the summit of Zugspitze, and the summit of Zugspitze is crazy, okay? There's a huge building complex already built with concrete on the Zugspitze. You know, the summit is almost not existent anymore. It still is, but the summit of Zugspitze is completely full with buildings, and I don't know how you call it. Yeah, so and signal towers and all kinds of stuff, a cable car, like a restaurant, a hotel, a hut, of course, and a viewing platform. It's crazy up there. I'll tell you that. So just below the summit area, before you get to this viewing platform, there's like a staircase, or there are steel stairs up to the summit, or the viewing platform. And I remember it was almost 5 p.m. I think. I was on those stairs and was super, super tired. Every step felt so hard, and I barely was able to fight myself up there. And eventually I made it to the viewing platform, and I was quite happy. The last gondola or cable car already went down, so there was no traffic anymore, even no tourists up there, because it's a super crowded and touristy area up there at the viewing platform, because a lot of people are driving up with the cable car from the German and the Austrian side. But I was so lucky, no one was there. It was completely empty, and I was on the summit of Zugspitze all by myself. So I walked across the viewing platform, and I saw the golden cross, the Gipfelkreuz, which marks the summit. So I left the viewing platform. You have to do a little bit of scrambling, climb up an iron ladder, and then you get to the summit. And that was the first time I reached the summit of Zugspitze all by myself, all alone and solo. I was super, super, super exhausted. I was still not in very good condition. I still was not fit at that time. I already lost some weight. I did intermittent fasting during that time in order to lose some weight or a lot of weight. That helped a lot. If you want to know more about that, feel free to ask in the comments, and I can share some insights of that. But yeah, that was the very, very, very first time I was standing on a summit all by myself, all alone, and the first time being on Zugspitze. Yeah, that was quite an experience, and I remember that I was super tired and super exhausted. And I didn't know what to do. I was at the summit. It was quite late. I underestimated the time completely because, again, I didn't know what I was doing. And I did not know, okay, what should I do? Should I try to find a spot here at the summit where I can hide and sleep? But then I also thought, okay, it's already getting foggy, it's getting cold, maybe that's not the best idea. And I wanted to descend the mountain. So I decided, maybe I run down the mountain over to the Austrian side, to Erwald, across the Gattal, basically meaning going over the border. And I thought to myself, maybe I find a nice tent spot where I can put up or pitch up. Do you say pitch up? My tent. And get some rest, get some sleep. And this is what I ended up doing. I ran down the mountain, and I think the sunset was already starting. You know, the sky was in a super beautiful orange lit glowing atmosphere. I found a nice spot almost close to the Austrian border. I found a nice spot where I could pitch my tent, and that's what I did. So I pitched up my tent. I was super happy to finally get some rest, get some food. I got out my stove. I started, I don't know what I did. Maybe, I don't remember, guys. I made some kind of food for me with my stove. Usually I had like tuna and rice that I was frying in a pan, but I don't know what I had that exact day. But I just remember sitting in my tent, the stove in front of my tent, getting some food, drinking some water, regenerating. And I was looking down the valley, the Rheintal Valley, into the sunset. And it was so beautiful, and it was so quiet, it was so calm. I was so calm, and I was able to connect to myself. I was feeling the nature. That was definitely a nice thing and beautiful, and I enjoyed the views and everything. But what I actually realized, that I was connecting with myself, and I didn't expect that. I was very, very calm. I was very quiet. I was kind of happy, and I was able to listen to my inner voice. Like my inner voice was talking to me that it enjoyed it, or that I enjoyed it, and that I liked being outside, that I liked being in the silence, in the nature. Because usually my hobby was gaming, and gaming is always kind of stressful. You always have a lot of information and data going in, and you have to react on that. And and this was completely different, a complete different experience, and almost the opposite of gaming. And I enjoyed that so much, and it felt so well. So with that feeling, with that connection with the nature, and especially with myself, I sank into, I closed my tent, sank into my sleeping bag, and fell asleep. And I was infinitely happy. I can tell you that. The next morning, of course, I wanted to get up early to get down the mountain as soon as possible and maybe climb up the mountain. But I always overestimate my fitness level and my skills, or underestimate nature and fatigue and my body. So I think I woke up somewhere between 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. I was sleeping for 14 hours in my tent. I could even hear people walk and pass by outside, and I think they were not able to see me. I had a green tent. It was a little bit hidden because it's usually not allowed to tent out there. And I woke up. I was completely tired and exhausted, but super, super happy. And yeah, I packed all my stuff together. Had a little breakfast, packed my rucksack, and then I ran down to Austria, basically the other side of the mountain, across the Gattal down to Erwald, and had a great time. It's a beautiful way up and down the Erwald side, and yeah, that was just beautiful. It was a sunny day. There were a lot of cows running around, people walking up. There's a lot of huts and people sitting out there. Mountain bikers are there. And yeah, I felt so happy walking down that mountain and being out in nature. So eventually I reached Erwald. I didn't know where I was going, what was happening, how I get back to my car. So I went to the train station in Erwald. I saw that there's a train that leads around the whole Zugspitze, and you end up in Garmisch-Partenkirchen again. Garmisch? Yeah, Garmisch-Partenkirchen again. And that's what I did. I think I had to ask people. I don't know. Was I able to Google that? I don't remember actually anymore. Maybe I asked someone how I get back to Garmisch-Partenkirchen, or maybe I read it on Hiker. I don't remember how I did it, but I ended up at the train station, and I took the train all the way around the Zugspitze to the German side again. I found my car. I got into my car. I moved close to the Eibsee. Eibsee is a very nice lake next to the Zugspitze. And I think, what did I do? Was I sleeping in my car? Or maybe I took my tent again and I was putting up my tent next to the Eibsee. I don't remember. Maybe sleeping in the car, maybe putting up my tent next to the Eibsee. I don't know, but I know that I was tired. I was completely exhausted, and yeah, I had to get a lot of rest, a lot of sleep, and couldn't even think about climbing the mountain again on that day. The next morning I woke up. I was hyped. I was ready. I wanted to go onto the summit of Zugspitze again. It was, I think, all in one weekend. And I wanted to go to the summit of Zugspitze again. So this time I thought, okay, Nordin, you went up the Rheintal, which was quite okay. You went down the Erwald area to Austria, which was quite good. So now is the chance to step it up a little bit. This time we will go. It's kind of a via ferrata, or like a scrambling path. It's called the Stöpselzieher. That's basically the third route up the Zugspitze. It starts in Germany near the Eibsee, and I think it's one of the fastest and most direct ways from the valley up to the summit. The elevation gain and the distance is quite nice, and you ascend like very, 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 very fast. So that's what I did. I remember in the German Alpine Club PDF, they recommended that you bring a helmet, that you bring a harness, that you bring a climbing gear set. And I didn't have all that stuff, so I decided, I'll just give it a try, see how it goes. If it's possible, I'll climb it, and if it's not possible, I'll turn around and call it a day. So that's what I did. I ran up there and hold on, sorry. So I ran up there, and eventually, after a while, I got to the Via Ferrata. There was suddenly a lot of iron and steel wires in the mountain, in the rocks, and you could use them to climb. But, excuse me, I felt quite comfortable to just ignore the steel wires, the iron in the wall, and just grabbing the rocks and start scrambling. I felt way more secure, and it felt way better to grab the rocks and scramble with my hands and feeling the cold stone in my hands. And that's what I did. I just started climbing up there. And I remember the Stöpselzieher is called Stöpselzieher because there's, I think that's the reason, there's like one arch made of stone. I think that's like a natural, how do you say, washing or erosion? From erosion. I think water was running down there, and there is like a hole that has been washed by the water. And yeah, you have to kind of climb through a tunnel, and which is like a stöpsel, you know, something you the little black thing you pull out of the sink, and then the water flows down the pipe. And yeah, this is a stöpsel. A plug, yeah, that's the word, the plug. And Stöpselzieher basically means like plug puller. So this route is called plug puller because of this formation, and yeah, probably because of the history that the water was flowing there and created this hole. So I was climbing through that hole, and in front of me was an older climber. I would say probably in the early 40s, mid 40s. He was having a helmet, a harness, and everything, his climbing gear with him, and he was attaching himself to the steel wires, and he was climbing, and he climbed up too far. And he couldn't reach his safety of his harness that was attached to the steel wires. And you know, I was amateur, and he obviously too. And he looked at me and asked me like, "Could you help me like switch my safety to the next safe spot?" And I thought, okay, it seems like a safety harness and putting your safety ropes into the steel wire is not always like beneficiary if you don't know how to use it. So I thought, yeah, this is probably even a higher risk using these safety tools than it is than of just climbing, you know, and scrambling there with your bare hands and not using a harness. So yeah, that was my first impression, my first experience with someone climbing with a climbing harness. And yeah, I helped the guy to get to the next steel wire with his harness, and I just passed him after the tunnel, and I kept on climbing. And yeah, I enjoyed it so much. You know, it was quite steep. It's super nice to scramble, even though it was free. You know, I had no safety, and I think I didn't even have a helmet, but I don't remember, to be honest with you. I have to look up the pictures. And yeah, after a few hours, but it didn't took long this time. I was standing on the viewing platform of the Zugspitze again. And I remember the guy from I think it's the Münchner house, the Münchner hut is the hut on the Zugspitze. The guy, the Wirt, the how do you say? The guy managing the hut saw me and said, "Hey, you're here again? I just saw you 2 days ago." And I said, yeah, sure. I'm just having a great time here. That was me standing on the top of Zugspitze again on the viewing platform. I went over to the summit cross, the Gipfelkreuz again. Took a photo, took a selfie, and I think this time I was a little bit tired. I was a little bit exhausted, and yeah, I needed to get home quickly because I had to go to work the next day. So I took the cable car down to Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and yeah, got back into my car, and then I drove 2 hours home to Nuremberg, where I lived back then. 2 or 3 hours, I think it took me back then to drive home. Yeah. So yeah, that was my very, very, very first experience in the mountains, like the first episode. So I started in 2011, but actually really climbing myself and solo I did in 2014. So it's basically less than 10 years ago. So yeah, you could say my journey started 13 years ago on the Pitzboy in the Dolomites. But actually, my solo mountaineering and actually being actively climbing in the mountains started around about 9.5 years ago. And this year's like 10-year anniversary. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. Yeah. So with this experience, I realized, okay, I feel quite comfortable the way I was climbing at the Stöpselzieher. And still, don't get me wrong, like it's nice if you can do the Stöpselzieher very comfortably in a fast pace, but that doesn't mean anything, you know. You're still a greenhorn, and I was still a greenhorn back then. But I realized, man, now I climbed 2000ers, and in the Dolomites I climbed a 3000er, and I was already thinking to myself, man, it would be awesome to climb a 4000-meter mountain, a mountain in the snow, a mountain with a glacier, with crevasses and all that jazz, you know, that is like traditional and typical alpinism. And I was observing myself and realized that I was drawn to those ice-capped mountains, to those cold and snowy mountains. Somehow I felt some kind of pull, like a call from the mountains, that I want to go there, that I want to be in the ice, that I want to experience the ice and see how it is. I enjoyed the scrambling in the rocks, don't get me wrong. I really still do like the scrambling. I love that. But there was something that pulled me to the higher mountains, and somehow I wanted to be in the ice, in the snow, and I didn't know exactly what that was. And yeah, I was thinking about, how can I do that? How can I manage to climb a 4000er in the ice? How can I survive there without dying? How to deal with avalanches, how to deal with crevasses, how to deal with the glacier and ice axes like this, crampons. I didn't know anything about that, but I knew I want to experience that. I wanted to get there, and I wanted to step up my game. I wanted to evolve a little bit more now from a mountaineer that just scrambled around in the Bavarian Alps and rocky terrain. I realized I want to go into the ice and experience the ice and see how that is. And somehow I was afraid because I didn't know how to do it, how to learn that, how to learn the necessary skills and awareness. And again, I didn't have any friends that could do that or show me how to do that. So yeah, I had to find a way to climb a 4000er, to have my first experience in the ice, in the snow, on the glacier. But this is a story for next time, next Friday, when I will tell you more about my journey, how I became a mountaineer and how I actually ended up climbing an 8000er solo without oxygen. All right, guys. Thank you for staying with me all the time, for listening, for your enthusiasm. If you have any questions regarding research, about gear, about how to start mountaineering, whatever it is, feel free to write in the comments, let me know, and I try to share everything I know with you guys. All right, that's it for today. See you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.
So, hier sind wir auf der Zugspitze, ganz oben. Gerade ist ein wenig weniger los. Ich filme einfach mal rundherum. Großes Gipfelkreuz. So schaut es da. So schaut das aus. Wahrscheinlich anlässlich zur Weltmeisterschaft der Deutschlandflagge hingestellt. Das ist der Aufstieg übers Rheintal und vom Sonnenalpin. Ja, da kommen schon ein paar vorbei. Da drüben ist die Seilbahn. Muss ein wenig aufpassen, hier ist ein wenig eng. Das bin ich. Servus. Warte mal, vielleicht sollte ich so. Servus, ich stehe ganz oben. Schon zum zweiten Mal. Dreimal. Servus. Da mal weiter filmen. So. Schauen wir mal, wie das da ausschaut. Da quälen sich die Massen rauf und ab. sind da erst einmal raufgekommen, wenn sie mit der Seilbahn noch schön an der Gondel raufgefahren sind. Nach Bratwurst und Schnitzel und Kartoffelbrei, kommen sie dann rauf mit ihren Sandalen und veranstalten eine Hecknick. So, mal schauen, ob man den Alpsee noch mal gescheit sieht. Also, ich verabschiede mich dann mal. Servus.